Welcome to another episode. In today's episode, we're going to be talking to Cindy Raney as well as Jason Mudd, and they have a really unique real estate team. Now, the reason I wanted to bring them on is because Cindy has a breadth of experience in luxury real estate, specifically in the Westport and Fairfield County market. She's been in the real estate industry for over 22 years now and approaching 600 million plus in lifetime real estate sales. Because of her success, she has built now a team, a 9-person team with Coldwell Banker, and turned this into a real long-term and lucrative scenario for them. So thank you, Jason and Cindy, for coming on, and I'm looking forward to diving in here with you today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
We're looking forward to
Absolutely.
it.
So I guess to start out, let's talk a little bit about an overview of your team. What sets you guys apart in luxury real estate, specifically in Fairfield County, because there's so much competition?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, look, so we talked about the team size. I think what sets us apart is Cindy's passion for the client first. So I think we try to start with the client in mind and work backwards towards how we can solve for their problems, right? So we start with them in mind as opposed to us first. And Cindy really approaches this in our business philosophy is approach this as an advisory business first, right? Our job in our role is to give clients the information, whether it's market data, trends, anything that we see going on in the market, so that they can make educated decisions. Our job is not to tell them to buy or sell a home or make an investment in a property. Our job is to give them the information to make smart decisions. And that's how we approach everything. It's not transactional in nature, it's advisory in nature.
Okay. So do you think the success you guys have had, specifically the volume of sales, 600 million plus it's a huge accomplishment for any industry, especially in the market that you're in. So with that said, do you feel that the education component is the key to your success, or what do you really think is that pinnacle point that makes you set out? Because I think a lot of agents say, hey, I'm a teacher, I'm going to give you knowledge and education, but you guys are doing something a little different.
I think a lot of our success comes from repeat clients and our referrals from our existing client base. We make sure that we provide all of our clients with an exceptional client experience. And it really, they refer us to their friends and family and colleagues. And I really think that's such a huge part of our success.
Just add a little bit to that,
Sure.
Robert. I think what I think Cindy does exceptionally well and why clients refer business to her and why the business has grown is, yes, we do come at this from an advisory approach, and you're right. People often say that, but what Cindy's really good at is telling people what they need to hear. A lot of clients want to hear something from my house is worth this.
Yeah.
And Cindy is very good about saying, this is what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. And so she's very truthful in her guidance. It's not about letting the client, we can tell any client that their house is worth a lot more than it is. But the reality is that's not what we think is a good ethical way to do business. And I think the second thing is operationally, we're always working on creating processes that help our clients in this business, which is, look, it's a big decision, right? You're talking about a big financial commitment. So we take this very, very seriously. We take our job as advisors to the nth level because it's such an important transaction for somebody.
I think Fairfield County is a really unique market, okay? When you look at the state of Connecticut, I always kind of look at it as Fairfield County and everybody else, and I think it's when you're dealing in the Fairfield County market, you're dealing with a higher caliber clientele. Let's be just straightforward on that. The same person that's buying a $300,000 starter home in Hartford or Waterbury or one of the suburbs is a completely different consumer and has a different decision-making process, right? Than the buyer who's purchasing a $2 million, $3 million property in Greenwich, Westport, Fairfield, Southport, etc., right? So how have you guys adapted the strategies? You talked about education and telling people what they need to hear, but if you can go a little bit further on that to talk about how you adapt the strategies specifically for the type of high demand clients that are buying property and selling property in the markets that you're in. They're difficult. A lot of these clients are difficult, right? When you receive and have the level of success that it takes to be buying these type of properties, maybe I'll use the word entitled, right? Maybe there's a little bit of that. How do you deal with that? How do you really adapt your style, your approach to take on that type of client? Because I think that's different from like a lot of clients that I deal with. Again, first time, second time buyers at much lower price points. Can you speak to that at all?
So I'll take a crack at it and then let Cindy weigh in. I think, again, going back to where we started, which is it's a client-centric approach. So yes, we hear you that some of these clients come to us with maybe a different perspective because it's such a significant investment. But taking the client-first approach allows us to take our ego out of it, right? So the idea is this is an important investment for somebody. So we start there, right? And our job is then from there, whether it's somebody selling a luxury property, somebody buying, there's the approach is how do we give you honest feedback, honest opinion on what's going on in the market? And again, it's how do we take the data that we're constantly studying? So Cindy has a deep understanding of what's going on at the grassroots level. She's in the field every day talking to people. I have the luxury of getting to sit back in the office and analyzing data, analyzing interest rate shifts and market trends, and I can then share that perspective. So I think that's one of the things that when we talk to high net worth clients or people in the luxury space, we really can come at it from a couple of different directions with them. These are people who are in most cases very educated, very, very savvy consumers, right? They want to know what we think of if they buy in this specific geography. What will that investment mean in 5 to 10 years, right? We don't have the crystal ball, but we are educated to give them our advice in that perspective. So
yeah, and I would say that I don't think that these people are all so different, except that we may end up working with their advisors and working collaboratively as a team. The same person buying a $2 million house needs the same education about a transaction, mortgage advice, how to protect them in a purchase than someone buying a $300,000, condo. So the process really doesn't change. We still educate our clients in the same way to make sure they really understand every part of the transaction as it's occurring and making sure that they feel well taken care of.
And you mentioned collaboration and the team approach. And that's something that I've talked a lot about is building a personal wealth team, right? And it sounds like, which is what we preach, the higher net worth you get, the more success you have, the more need you have for a team collaboration when it comes to real estate, finance, legal, right? Really, really important. And it sounds like that's what you're seeing, right? Higher net worth, higher income, more advisory, right? I mean, I agree with that approach 100%. What percentage would you say specifically your buyers, they come to you, they're pre-approved, they're ready to go. What percentage have that team where it's like, hey, I'm not doing this on my own. I've got my money manager, my financial advisor, maybe it's an estate attorney, just other people on the team that need to be involved? Is that like 80% plus, or is it a minority? What would you say?
No, it's the majority of our clients would come to us and they've already have a money manager. They've got an attorney that they've worked with for estate planning needs. When we meet with them, the things that they would need from us would be perhaps a real estate attorney who's local, because it's really important to have local. We make recommendations for that. We make recommendations for inspectors, as well as mortgage brokers and things like that. But they do come to us usually with a full team of, we talk to their accountant, their financial advisor, and things like that.
And I think that point right there in the statistic you just gave, that the majority have that, it just speaks to the fact that having that team is important, not going at the process alone, not only real estate, but just in life, right? To be successful, to build a high net worth, to build a legacy, you can't do it on your own. You're not a jack of all trades. And I think the higher net worth individuals, higher income, they realize that early on and they delegate those tasks out. So for all my first timers listening, whether you have $1 million net worth or 50 grand, it doesn't matter. Start building that team, start those relationships, because a relationship you create today might be one that pays off 2, 3, 5 years more down the road, right? And a lot of these advisors, they're long-term, right? It's like, you're not just picking up the phone and getting with someone right away. It's like, there's a relationship built, which helps the context of what you guys are doing. So moving along, you've both built extremely successful careers. Cindy in real estate specifically. And Jason, I know you also had a different professional background before you came. Can you talk a little bit about how your different backgrounds like complement each other when it comes to the real estate market and specifically running this team that you guys have put together?
Sure. So the vast majority of my career prior to partnering with Cindy in real estate was in banking, and it was for a variety of top tier firms, the J.P. Morgans of the world, Bank of America, so well-known institutions where I was able to cut my teeth and learn quite a bit about process, quite a bit about people management, quite a bit about how do you take strengths and leverage them? And so I come from sort of more of an analytic background. And so I think what Cindy and I complement ourselves so well on is I come at this much more from a business-minded approach. So what processes do we need to put in place operationally? Why do we need to be excellent? And Cindy is much better on the people side and dealing with the client and understanding their needs and getting to the heart of why something like this investment is so important to them. What do they need from a lifestyle perspective? Whereas I can, again, I like to think of myself as a little bit of the data geek, right? I'll take a look at the market analysis or take a look at where interest rates are. A lot of the white papers that we produce, and Cindy and I, we both work on them together, but a lot of it is me thinking about kind of where the business is going. So I have the luxury of being able to sit back and take a look at trends and analyze them and hopefully give our clients a peek under the tent of what we see coming, why we see trends happening, what's impacting the business, especially on the high net worth side. A lot of folks want to understand that stuff in a very deep way. And so Cindy and I get the chance to talk about a lot of that back and forth. And because Cindy has also spent some time in a previous life in finance, she understands a lot of where I'm coming from. She's just so busy with clients that I get to take the other side of the equation.
Well, it's really nice that we have this because many real estate teams and just realtors in general, we're so busy, we're running around all the time that very few teams have sort of an in-house research part of their team, which is really, really helpful for us.
Yeah. So on that vein of operations, one big question that I would have for you on that would be, what's like a big challenge that you've seen with the operations of the real estate company, and how have you overcome that challenge given your background?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the biggest operational challenge for us was scaling the business as fast as it has while still maintaining that high touch client service, right? It's one thing, the business has grown from 20 million in 2020 to over 100 million here in just 4 years. And so, yes, our price points have gone up. So it doesn't mean that we've serviced thousands more clients. Cindy has serviced a lot more than she, did when she was by herself. And so operationally, we've had to scale, right? And so we've done that in two ways. One is with technology. It's with getting things like a CRM, the database right, making sure all the client information is logged correctly in the right place so that we have access to that at all times. And the second is putting the right people around Cindy so that free her up to do what she does really well. So yes, we hired some other advisors on the team, but we have people in social media. We have people in public relations. We have people who help on the marketing side. So it's really building an infrastructure operationally that, again, allows Cindy to do what she does incredibly well, but also allows our clients to kind of see all of the stuff that we're doing, that we're trying to get them. Again, I started with, we want to get people information, whether it's through our PR department, our PR team, I should say, our marketing arm, our social media person. We're always trying to share a wealth of information. And I think that's helped us grow. That technology, that combination of adding the technology and putting the right people in place has helped us scale while still keeping the client at the forefront of what we do every day.
So what I'm really hearing from you, Jason, is delegation, right? Go where you are best. Do what you do best, right? And I think that that's something I see with a lot of top teams in real estate and mortgage is the delegation piece. Because once you get to a certain level in this business, you're at a glass ceiling. You really are. And as a single loan officer, single realtor, you can only do so much, right? There's only 24 hours in a day. But when you start delegating, that's where you can scale, like you're saying. And that's what I think you've said attributed to a lot of this success is taking a lot off your plate, Cindy, letting you do what you do best, which is advise clients and sell. That's it. Everything else should be outsourced or brought to a third party or brought to just somebody else on the team that's going to do that. And it sounds like you've done that incredibly well. versus a lot of other teams that I've seen. So kudos for that. Now, Cindy, a question I have directly for you is you've seen a lot of success. You're in a top luxury market in the country, but yet you're still going, right? You're still moving forward. You're still building. What drives you now? Like what makes you get up every day to say, hey, I want to do this again? Because I know when you get to a certain level in this business, it's not about the money anymore, right? We can pay our bills every month. It's about something else. What's your why right now?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Like, honestly, it's my family, my children, my husband. I don't know if he told you, but yeah, we live and work together. It's really just being able to provide my family with amazing experiences. I just got back last night actually from Paris, so I'm a tiny bit tired. I took my mom, who's turning 80 this year, and my daughter, who's turning 13, and my stepdaughter, Cami, and we went to Paris for 6 days. And I mean, that's something that I love, being able to do things like that with my family. And then other than that, I genuinely love helping people find the right home for them and the right place. I really gained so much enjoyment from that. And I love helping people. And then, the other part of it is we really get to give back now to our community. And that really means a lot to both Jason and myself. That's another really big piece of this.
Yeah, I think Robert, just to tie into this, I know we mentioned that I had a prior career and started in 2020 with Cindy. And one of the reasons that I thought it would make a lot of sense to build a business that with Cindy as the centerpiece is because of her passion for helping people. And I saw that passion, and it actually excited me, like to try something different, where I could bring some of my skill sets from the business side of things, but I could see how passionate Cindy loves helping people. It's something that she just innately does. And you see it in how she treats our kids. It's how she treats her mom. It's how she treats her friendships. She's really passionate about being a supportive person. And then she just mentioned the community outreach. So, for me, it's as a business partner, it's great to have her because I know where her heart is. Her heart is legitimately in the right place when it comes to helping a consumer find the property of their dreams, right? I know a lot of this stuff sounds cliche, but the reality is Cindy eats, breathes, and sleeps this stuff. It really hurts her if one of her clients doesn't get an outcome that they want, right? And we know a lot of people who it's transaction based, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But so, again, Cindy said it, but I just thought it's important to echo it because I don't think I could be as passionate about this with her if I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, Jason, because that actually resonates a lot with me. I've been doing this 23 years now. And, it's about getting a win for the client. Like, you could be $1 commission. It could be $100,000 commission. I'll tell you personally, I get no more satisfaction from the higher than the lower. It's about getting a win for the client. It's about fulfilling their dreams, getting to an end goal. And I personally, it sounds like you do too, have a passion for creating a strategy and then actually implementing it and seeing what you put in place, almost like, building a home. You got to create the foundation and the other pieces and doing that and then seeing it come to fruition. Sometimes it can happen in 30 to 60 days, right? And that's really cool to watch. Other times I've had clients, I'm sure you have too, it could take 3 years, 5 years. I have one that took 10 years from my initial call until they bought a home. 10 years. It doesn't matter. It's part of what we do. It's creating that relationship. You don't talk to someone for 10 years without some sort of foundation, right? Relationship. Even though there was no transaction, it was about that. So that really meant a lot to me when you said that. It tugged at my heart a little because I feel the same. And I really think most people in the real estate industry, especially people with less than 5 years experience, don't get to that. You can't get to that. And once you do, though, it becomes something that I think it will always drive you, right? Always, no matter what, 20 million in the bank, no needs financially, but you're still going to wake up and help that client. Why? Because that's who we are, right? We made a commitment and we're going to fulfill that commitment, not for the money, but for ourselves, for our heart, right? For our family. That's what it's about. So appreciate you sharing that. Now, you guys are longtime residents of Fairfield County. How long have you been living now in Fairfield County?
I was born and raised here.
Okay.
I lived in the city, New York City, after
Hmm.
college when I was working at Merrill Lynch down in the World Financial Center, and then moved right back to Connecticut in 2001.
So tons of time. And Jason, when did you move to Fairfield County?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Missouri. I'm from the Midwest, but
Uh-huh.
I've lived in a number of different places, but moved to Connecticut in 1998 and had a brief detour back to Washington, D.C. for about 5 years in the mid 2000 period. And so I've been back to this area since 2009 again. So I've really, since 1998, I've been here other than.
Significant, yeah, significant experience in the area. And I think that's really important. You live where you work, right?
Mhm.
You know the area. I see a lot of agents that will live in Fairfield County, but they're selling properties over by the casino, right? Like other side of the state. Or they live over in Groton and they're trying to sell a house in Greenwich. And it's like, wait a second, this
Really
does
hard to
not
do.
align, right?
Right.
Problems occur. So with that said, how would you say your intimate knowledge of the area, all the decades that you guys have spent there, have given you a competitive advantage? And the second piece is, how do you keep up on the trends that are constantly changing? You were talking about interest rates. The volatility over the last 30, 60 days has been unprecedented. So, like, how do you guys keep up with all that? What tools, resources, or other things do you use? And how does that intimate knowledge of the market help you guys to advise clients?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how important it is to live and intimately know the communities that you're helping people buy or sell homes in. And, especially now, our market is so hyper local that even in one town, the market is very different from, up to $1 million price point, and then, all the different segments,
Mhm.
every bit of the market very different. So we have to be extremely tuned in to the segments of the market to give people great advice. I think having that intimate knowledge, like you really to be able to help people find the right neighborhood or to let them know that selling their house on one side of town is going to get a different result than on the other side of town.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then from the trends
definitely.
perspective, I think, you asked Robert, I think, I get the opportunity to spend a lot of time reading and speaking with other, Cindy's got an unbelievably strong network nationally with some of the other
Mhm.
top agents, not just within the Coldwell Banker network, but because of her standing in the community in other firms. And we're always sharing ideas, understanding kind of what's going on nationally, because while it's super important to know the local trends, it would be a disservice to our clients if we didn't understand what's happening nationally, and then how does that eventually tie into what's happening at the local level. So we do spend a lot of our time, I especially do, reading, trying to understand, talking to other top teams across the country, understand some of the challenges they face, so that we can then in turn share that with our clients to give them hopefully the best experience that we can possibly give them.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love the collaboration approach with other agents, especially in other areas, because what I've found is that Connecticut it's disconnected from other parts of the country, right? So what I saw was in like the housing crash, Connecticut had crashed, other areas were doing okay. And then I see, now other areas are not doing that well. And Connecticut's a shining star. I'm seeing reports where Connecticut's in the top three for highest growth, depending on the areas. A lot of people moving here. I get a lot of calls from people from Google because when they Google top mortgage lender in Connecticut, I'm in the top couple. So I get people calling saying, hey, I'm moving there. And I've seen an uptick in relocations to Connecticut from other areas recently, especially. So, that's great. And one of the things that I've taken away, it sounds like you have too, from other areas is like, what strategies are they using, for example, in Los Angeles that is working there that I can now adapt to the local market? And you guys are in a great luxury market, and there's other luxury markets, right? Beverly Hills. I'm sure you know top agents over there. They might be doing something that's working well, that's innovative in that market. You can be the pioneer bringing that to Connecticut. One of the things that I did was I got told by colleagues over on the West Coast that in a competitive market, they were calling the listing agent on every offer their buyer put in. So if their buyer put an offer in, they weren't even wasting time. They were immediately reaching out to that listing agent with a lot of information to vouch for that pre-approval. And this is years ago. This is like 2018, 2019. But what I found was when the market heated up, when it got really crazy, 2020, 2021, I immediately pivoted and adapted that approach. Nobody was doing it here. I did it because they did it and it worked. And what it allowed my clients to do was put their offer at the top of the stack for no other reason but I like this lender. He has great reviews and this client is well vetted. Maybe they're not the highest price, but it's a strong offer with that, that collaboration, right? To know what's going on versus a high offer, but no call, no email, a no name loan officer. You don't know the company or it's some out of Detroit or out of California. And it's like, it's not an advantage. So I wanted to spend a minute talking about that collaboration because I think with Coldwell Banker, with the team that you've built, to have those resources, somebody just running their own real estate team, without that network, they don't have that ability, right? It's more of a cold call when you're talking to an agent out somewhere else versus, hey, we're both with Coldwell Banker. I'm sure you go to the events. There's a lot of collaboration at those events I've found too. So I think that that's a big competitive advantage as well for you guys. So client service, as we're wrapping up here, I want to talk about client service. It's so important. You guys said it. Something I pride myself on is having the best customer service, not just good, not just great, the best. And if it's not the best you've ever had, then I didn't do my job. Okay. That's how I want every review to read. And that's why, we have the ratings we do. So with that said, what do you guys do to give that super high level of service? I assume dealing with high net worth clients like this, they require like high touch, right? They send you an email. They don't want to wait 2 days for a response. How do you guys create a high level of service? What are your little bells and whistles that differentiate you on that level to help serve your clients?
Yeah, I mean, we are always available for our clients. We respond immediately to their concerns, questions. If someone sends me a text and I've got their listing or I'm helping them as a buyer, they're going to get an immediate response. So that's one thing. I can't even imagine not responding to someone immediately when it comes to communication. And we have a concierge level of service. So whatever it is that our clients need throughout a sale or a purchase, I mean, we will help them. For instance, we have a listing on Sasko Hill Road, and we asked our client to actually move out his belongings, and we were staging the house. And so we had our whole family, working with this gentleman over a weekend, packing up his entire library of books.
Wow.
We brought them to the library to donate them. I mean, we are sort of like all hands on deck when needed. And, we get really very close with our clients as we're, getting a listing ready, putting a listing on. And then, of course, the relationship that you develop with someone when they're buying, really, they almost become like an extended set of friends or family. It's really nice.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I'd add to that is we're constantly striving for self-improvement, right? We believe in the philosophy and the discipline of trying to get, just even if we get 1% better every day in delivering for our clients, we're doing our job. So as Cindy said, constantly available. We understand that high net worth clients they want exclusivity, they want some privacy, and they want attention. So how are we providing that to them? As Cindy said, it's not just being available 24/7. It's really getting to understand why they're selling a property or what it is that they want to buy about a property. Cindy spends a lot of her time when we're selling luxury properties, getting to know the ins and outs of the house, what appealed to the client when we sell that property, what are the memories that were created in that home that we can then share, that they will allow us to share, so that when she presents the home, it's presented in its very best light, right? It's not just about square footage and bedrooms and bathrooms and yes, high-end cabinetry and custom, it's the story behind the home, right? And so I think that high touch that Cindy provides people at the highest level, they feel it. They know that she's invested in them, and that's what they want. And obviously, Cindy's incredibly discretionary is of the highest order, but there is also a personal relationship that we develop with many, if not, can't say every client, but with the vast majority, because they know how invested we are in our process of helping them. And again, it goes back to what we said: the client comes first. How do we make their experience exceptional? Yeah. That's what we believe.
Whatever they need, we'll do it. I mean, we just met with someone. About 2 weeks ago, I got a call at about 5:00 p.m. They said, can you meet with us tonight? We want to get our house sold. And it's someone from Bridgewater. I know how limited their time is. So I met them at about 7:45 that night. And we had their house on the market 2 days later. We got the stager in the very next day. And then that's another situation where I really understand why they bought the house, what they love about the house. You know, they talked about the sunsets in the living room. They talked about enjoying their pool and where they're going to barbecue and where it's a shady spot. And so, I mean, I know every detail about the house, and we're doing a really great job with the listing.
Yeah, and I think in the entire industry, there's so much competition. You know, it's a commoditized industry. Buying homes, getting a mortgage, it's the loaf of bread syndrome, right? It's just whichever's cheaper. What you're saying is that the competitive advantage you guys have is that it's not about the numbers, it's about the relationship. I think that that's something that I really heard. And then the second piece there is decisiveness. That's really important. You mentioned the client that called you at 5 and you're listing their home within 2 days, you're over there the same night. I think of a similar scenario. I had a client called me last week and said, hey, I found the perfect house to buy, but I need to sell mine first. Who do you recommend? I referred them to one of my top agent partners. He was at their home the next day doing exactly what you said, and the home's on the market. And they're already under contract on their next one. That all got put together in just a couple of days over a weekend, believe it or not. So it's like, if you have that decisiveness, what I've found is that differentiates the super high performing top real estate pros from great realtors, really great realtors. Having the forethought, understanding the process, knowing what needs to be done when can make the difference between failure and success in this industry. So I see the competitive nature of where you guys are different than all the competition out there. So for the final question, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was trends. You know, you talked a lot about research, Jason. You do a lot of reading. There's been a lot of changes recently. And as we're recording this, we have the election just about to happen. And I think anyone that says it'll have no effect on the market, they're not in the market, because what buyer have you talked to or seller that hasn't brought the election up in some conversation, right? So I think education on that part is big. But what do you guys see as the trends? Not the short term over the next month or two. No, we all know that's going to be volatile. What do you see as 2025 and beyond? Real estate trends, prices, I mean, whatever you want to talk about in real estate coming up based on the research you've done and what you're seeing in the market right now.
So there are several factors, right? So we're in a very low inventory environment. We don't see that changing. And what that has done is obviously it's driven home prices up. We think that going into 2025, I don't see a massive change in the available inventory. There's not enough land. There's not enough new build possible. There is still a great migration, people coming to Connecticut for the quality of life. It's a beautiful place to live. Lifestyle amenities in Fairfield County, you know, having lived in as many places as I have, I think is as pretty a scenic a place as you can be. We're still seeing work from home trends, which is driving people here. So we've got this big chasm between buyers and sellers. I don't see that changing. And I think there are a lot of people who think when interest rates hit, whether it's 5.5%, and we can debate when that happens. I don't have a crystal ball, but let's just argue that that's at some point, end of next year. I've heard some people say, well, that will get people to sell, because as we all know, a lot of people are locked in a very low interest rate. My kind of counter to that is, what does that do to the buyer pool? I think it only increases the buyer pool, right? And you've got this already big gap. I think we're in Fairfield County are going to see a continuation of home price increases regardless, because I don't think inventory opens up. I think that's the first thing. The second thing, you had talked about this, the market and what happens when elections happen. And yes, there is some craziness. And I think you might see things get slow down here towards the end of the year. But Cindy, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think 9 of the last elections that have happened, home prices have actually gone up nationally. So once the dust settles, we have somebody in place, an elected officer in place, then things start to settle down, and then things start to turn again, right? So part of that is, I think, time of year. Early next year, spring market, we know, is a great market, generally speaking, for most markets. Again, I think we're in, if you're a seller in Fairfield County, you're sitting in a really good spot. I will say this, if you're a buyer in Fairfield County, while it is definitely more challenging, we have been able to find opportunities for the right situation for buyers with Cindy's expertise in helping them put in most compelling offers. It's not always, a lot of people think it's the highest price wins. Not if you structure the terms of your agreement. You know this, Robert, from your experience. So I think, we still feel it's going to be a great market for a seller, but I feel like if buyers who are listening are deterred, I wouldn't be, because we've helped a lot of people find homes. It would be disingenuous to say it's not more challenging.
Well, yeah, no, I wouldn't want anybody to feel like they would not want to, jump back into the market as a buyer if they've taken a break. Yes, the inventory is still low, but we have been able to find a house for every single one of our buyers. We do that by our process in which we help them find a home. So we make sure that they're talking to their mortgage broker ahead of time. And, is it possible for them to waive a mortgage contingency? I mean, that would be your job, Robert, to tell them whether or not you think it's a good idea. If you think it's okay, then we may. If you don't, then of course we can't. But we do everything to put them in the most positive situation so that you're winning a bidding war the first time, that you're not heartbroken and losing houses that you really want. And as far as other trends go, I think the only other thing that is sort of in flux right now is the work from home environment. There are several companies that are demanding that their employees come back to full time, and we're noticing more people are back in the office at least 3 days a week. And I think that may have an effect on our market a little bit with some more listings coming on the market. Fairfield, Westport, Greenwich, Darien, those are great towns to commute from. So I think we'll have a strong market here.
Definitely, I agree with you on all fronts. What do you guys think it's going to take to move us to a buyer's market?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I
see
mean,
that
look,
happening
I mean,
now.
That's not in the cards. You're saying you don't see any scenario.
The answer is catastrophe. The answer is that the stock market goes to, in a handbasket, and we have a real challenge that if somebody has gotten overextended, that they are forced to sell. I think right now, people are locked in a great interest rate. They are not in
equity
they have equity in their home. They're just so, catastrophe strikes. I think is it. I hate to be, that's the kind of.
No, I agree. That's what I've been telling people too. Don't sit around and wait for it. What I've been seeing, especially in the last few weeks, as we've seen rates actually spike after the Fed rate cut, is a lot of people have gotten scared, and that's creating a huge opportunity for the buyers that aren't scared. One in particular put in offer after offer, got the door shut on their face, yet they were persistent. And when the rate spiked, they found a property that they had a couple people were interested in. They decided not to. They put in their offer and it got accepted because they had the cojones, so to speak, to put that offer in when everyone's like, wait, we don't know what's going to happen. What's going on? I would tell any buyer out there, any spike in interest rates, it's actually a good thing for you as a buyer because it's getting people out of the market. It's lowering your competition. There's going to be a refinance opportunity. I'm sure you guys would agree. Like when you're doing this for decades, these stuff ebbs and flows. If you can just stomach that higher mortgage for 6 months, a year, maybe 2, there's going to be an opportunity. If you have the right advisors, if you have the right people looking out for you, right? Doing those ongoing reviews. We talked about collaboration. We talked about the wealth team. High net worth people may have someone saying, hey, the rates are lower, go refi. But maybe not everyone has that, right? That's why having the team to help is so important. Do you agree with that?
Our whole stance over the last 2 years has been to buy the home and then refinance when you can, when you have the opportunity. So we spent all of 2 or 3 weeks ago contacting every one of our clients that bought in the higher interest rate climate, and a lot of them have refinanced and they're saving a ton of money.
I agree, and some of those opportunities are short, very short flighted. Everyone thought the rates were going to keep dropping. They didn't. People that got greedy that were like, oh, I'm waiting for that 4.9. Well, they didn't lock in the 5.3. And now they're sitting with the same mortgage. So you got to be positioned and have your advisory in place. With my clients, we have something called a strike rate. We figure out what's the rate that's going to allow you to refinance and save money. And when we hit that strike rate, we know we can lock in and move forward. So it's a great strategy to use with anyone buying right now. Can you guys give, for everyone that's listening and wants to reach out, they've heard you speak, they want to work with you, either buying a home, selling a home, or just getting some advice, maybe a little bit out. Can you tell everyone how they can get in contact with you, reach you, and collaborate with you?
Yeah, I mean, our website is always a great place to start. You can read about us and get to know us a little better there. It's cindyraney.com. So it's CINDYRANEY.com. And of course, Instagram, we are Cindy, Raney, and team. You know, you can always certainly just reach out by phone, text. We would love to chat with anybody. You know, part of what we do as an advisory based service, like we are helping people even if they're not in the market, buy or sell right now. You know, I had somebody reach out to me about a month ago saying, I do want to know what my house is worth, but I have no desire to sell it in the next 2 to 3 years. You know, will you still come out and tell me what my house is worth? And absolutely, I would love to do that. We also love to be involved if someone's doing a kitchen renovation or thinking about doing some big change in their house. Like, let us give you advice on it. We are here to partner with you.
And what's the best phone
long-term
number
journey.
for them to call or text you at?
My cell phone is, you know, a great place for people to start. So it's 203-257-8320. And, you know, we're here. We'd love to help.
Yeah, Robert, you said it, but I wanted to emphasize it. I'd really encourage your listeners, if people want to pick the phone, we often hear, I'm not selling a quote unquote luxury property, so you must not want to talk to me. B, I'm not ready to sell or buy, so you probably don't want to talk to me, right? I hope people understand from this podcast that we really believe strongly in providing advice and sharing advice. I would love for somebody, nothing makes me happier than having a conversation with somebody where I feel if they walked away just a little bit more educated about the real estate business or the real estate market, that ultimately someday they get to make a great decision for themselves. I've done my job. Whether they use Cindy, Raney, and team or not that's not why we're in this business. We're in this business to educate, and hopefully people feel that from this discussion with you, because it means a lot to us to do it. So I hope people pick up the phone and call us.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate both of your time today. I know your time is valuable, and taking time away from your business to spend with us here, it means a lot. So from all of our listeners and myself, thank you guys so much for your time. And to everyone listening, reach out, you know, questions, concerns about the market. Obviously, these are professionals, experienced, even just to see if there's a fit. I would encourage you guys to get in contact. So thank you again. And to all of our listeners, appreciate you taking the time out to listen, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.